Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So on today's video, I bought this box from a company called Unicorn Labs and I'm really excited about opening it, but there's just something magical about this box. It's kind of engulfed in witchcraft, call it a magic spell. Every time I touch it, I feel a transformation happening. I'm gonna show you, every time I touch it, this happens. When I remove my hand, it's gone. When I put it back, it's there. When I remove it, it's gone. It's very, very bizarre. I kind of wonder what kind of person put a spell on this, aka Amanda. But I think this level of witchcraft only applies to the packaging. Hopefully I can still access the contents inside. So for those of you that don't know me, know that for a while I've been kind of building up my landscape photography book collection, which is kind of small at the moment. But this is definitely a book to add to your collection if you're looking to do the same. And it's a good way to support another photographer and be inspired with their work, be inspired with landscape photography if that's what you're looking for. So the book that I bought is Chasing Awe with Gavin Hardcastle. So if you're familiar with his work, you know he's been kind of promoting it a lot on YouTube and I just had to buy it. And I'm looking forward to unboxing this, kind of going over how the book looks in terms of quality, in terms of printing, what it comes with, if anything. Kind of looking at what it takes to actually put together a landscape photography book if you're interested in that as well. And I'll probably go over some of my favorite images from the book, maybe read a story or two that I find interesting. And one thing I'm really interested about for me is to see the kind of level of stories that he included. From watching some of his videos when he talked about his book, I'm kind of curious to see about the level of humor in the stories. Definitely that's one aspect of his style, is to include humor in his videos and probably in his book as well. So I'm curious to see that as well. I haven't opened this book, so your reaction you're gonna see is just raw, unfiltered, not rehearsed. Just gonna go through it as I open it and go over what it feels like. So I'm just gonna grab my knife here, my box opening knife, and get to it, you know? I'm excited. So after unboxing the book, I can actually take a look at it. And first thing I noticed, it does come with a small note with a little unicorn on top, obviously Unicorn Labs, back to that. It says, "Thank you for your patience and support. Creating this book has been a monumental task that took way longer than expected, but it's here now and I couldn't be happier with the final result. Also, as a token of my appreciation, here's a coupon code that gives you 10% off any print order in the future from the Print Lab. So I won't give you the code, but if you want to get a code, buy a book. Each print will no doubt be blessed by Amanda's weird energy crystals, unicorn hiccups, and other strange rituals of questionable oddness. Wouldn't be surprised given what happened to me with the book. Once again, thank you so much." With a smiley face, Gavin Hardcastle, Fototripper. That's kind of cool to provide a little note thanking people. So pretty much this is the book. When you look at it from the front, it has a picture on it of this nice wave crashing with, it says, Fototripper presents Chasing Awe with Gavin Hardcastle. And looks pretty cool, you know, it's a nice image. And on the back here, it has a picture of Gavin Hardcastle with his camera and the crashing wave, and obviously a distressed look on his face, because if you watch his videos, he's pretty much, this kind of reflects his personality. So it says on the back, "I wanted to create a book that would inspire other people to see the beauty in our natural world and perhaps chase that same sense of awe that so intoxicates me." It's kind of cool. So let's crack open this book and see what the first page looks like. So you get Chasing Awe with Gavin Hardcastle here on the page. And if I continue further, you get the content page, which shows about 118 pages of this book. So it's quite a lot of images you're going to get here. And then there's a forward note from, I think Adam Gibbs wrote this forward note. So I'm not going to read it all because it's kind of a long forward note. It might be a bit, it's a 2-page forward note, but I'll just read the beginning, I guess. The first paragraph. When I first met Gavin, it was almost like walking past a rock star that you recall from your childhood but can't quite remember their name or what band they were in. With coiffed hair, tight jeans, puffy blue jacket, and of course the insensible but obligatory appropriate sandals. Gavin looked more like a 90% rock star than your typical nature nut. And you can get an idea of the the tone of the book by just kind of being very truthful. I think I'll kind of keep going here. This is like page 3 of the book. This is a foreword, and it was written by Adam Gibbs, aka Uncle Grumpy. An introduction. I'm just going to read the first paragraph of the introduction. See, I'll open with a heartfelt thank you. It means the world to me that you decided to purchase this book. I knew it would be a massive risk to self-publish a hardback photography book when there are so many amazing photographers out there publishing great work. So that's another thing to notice about this book, that you do get a hardcover rather than a soft cover. That's something to note if you're looking to buy this book as well. So I feel optimistic that I'll be able to eventually sell all of them, but I never really expected that so many people would step up to support me so quickly. It's both humbling and inspiring. And it goes into more detail, but I don't want to drag on talking about it. So I think I want to get to looking at some of the images and seeing what they look like and what the quality of the print looks like. From what I can tell, I really like the way they printed this book. I think the paper is really, really nice. The images look really, really good. And the text is kind of big enough to read for anybody. If you have maybe you can't read, the text is not small, you can easily read it, and it's big enough to read everything very clearly. So this is kind of the format that he has on the first image. You got the image here, and you got the information sheet about the image, like the story behind it. And you got the which camera and the settings here at the bottom as well. And then you get some tech notes as well at the bottom of the image right here, at the bottom right here. So it's, there's quite a lot of information with the images. So I'm just gonna keep flipping through this for a while. Kind of look, and then I'll just pick a favorite image of mine. I'll kind of read the story behind it and see what kind of, how the story goes, I'm kind of skimming through this really, really fast because I just want to get to an image that I like, that's kind of similar to the style of pictures that I take. I definitely want something within that line, I think. That's what's going to draw my eye to the imagery, is picking something that I would have taken myself maybe, or would have liked to photograph myself. So just keep flipping through these till I find one that speaks to me. But obviously, like, when you get a photography book, you do want to take some time reading the stories, looking at the images. So right now, if I do that, this video will be like an hour long, maybe longer. So that's why I'm quickly skimming through it to find one image that I like, and then I'll read the story. But I do like the kind of paper they printed this book on. It's not very reflective, but it's still, the colors look nice, and the quality of the printing looks nice, and kind of the thickness of the paper is nice. So it feels like a good quality rather than, like not a quality enough paper. So definitely I'm not an expert on printing books, but from what I can tell, the images look really, really good printed here. They all look good, giving it's all the kind of similar paper, and they're just different kind of images, but the printing looks really, really good from what I can tell. So one thing I did notice when I'm kind of skimming through on page 102 and 103, there's like, talks about the Fototripper videos here, and there's kind of like all the pictures that he has with his thumbnails, I think, kind of listed from all his videos, like a collection of his videos. So I think if you just kind of like to promote his YouTube channel, there's a little pause in the photos, Then it switches back to pictures after and the stories and the tech notes. So it's kind of good to put that to promote your YouTube channel if you have one. This image I really like quite a lot. I'm going to show it to you right here. If you can see that. I quite like this one a lot because it's very minimal. The mood is really nice, the reflection is really nice, and it's a really nice graphic image. So I've been kind of drawn to more pictures like this. So this one really speaks to me. So I'm kind of read the the story here behind it. It's called Disembodied, Fairy Lake, BC. Look at that little fairy tree, cold, almost submerged, barely hanging on. That's me. I never truly acknowledged it at the time, perhaps because I'm English or perhaps because denial seemed the safest way to handle such a dark chapter of my life. But make no mistake, I was utterly and hopefully depressed. I hadn't used my camera in 6 months and had zero interest in adventuring in the rain. But my business was struggling, I was emotionally broken, and I'd entirely lost my mojo. Up until this point, I never really understood what it meant to be depressed. While my melancholy was purely situational and directly related to my circumstances, it gave me a newfound empathy for those who suffer from clinical depression and other forms of mental illness. I'd gone through tough patches in my life many times before, and deep inside I knew that this was a phase that I would eventually overcome. But for some people, the process of recovery is less assured and perhaps takes longer. My recovery got a jump start with the arrival of the ever-energetic Brent Henderson during a last-minute visit in the darkest days of January. From the moment I picked him up at the airport, his unbearable optimism made it very clear that moping was not an option. It took all that I had to let him drag my sorry arse all over Vancouver Island in the gloomiest depths of winter. He wanted to visit every single spot that I already shot to death a million times before. Painful. For 5 days, we toured the island during torrential downpours and eventually ended up at Fairy Lake. So with nothing better to do, I took this shot just to shut Brent up. And when I looked at the back of the camera to check the image, something amazing happened. Deep down in the darkest holes of my soul, a sleeping mojo opened its eyes. It wasn't quite able to get out of bed, but it was finally awake. It's silly, but I would have never asked for help. Real friends know you need it, even if you don't. It's kind of cool. I mean, I expected the story to be kind of funny. I mean, there is some humor to it, kind of dark humor, but I do relate with a lot of the things that he was saying about, being depressed and kind of unmotivated to go out, take pictures with your camera, and sometimes you need a kick in the butt to kind of get that inspiration back. And I think sometimes I feel it too when I feel like I'm on to a good composition. I kind of get excited about it, and it just kind of makes me have this joy inside, and I get kind of overworked and really anxious. And usually sometimes after I get a good photo, what I think is a unique photo, I'm walking down the trail kind of thinking about that picture and how it's unique and how I was able to capture it. So definitely I do relate with a lot of the stuff he said, because I feel like we all kind of go through it as creative people. So some of the tech notes says on the bottom, it says an oft overlooked part of the creative process in digital photography is the white balance setting. I'm guilty of this myself because I trust the auto white balance on my camera to get it right in most situations. Maybe it was because of how I was feeling, or perhaps it merely looked better, but for this image, I deliberately experimented with the white balance setting on my camera to create a cooler, more moody tone. So the image has a blue tone to it. It's kind of true, but I think it works with the conditions of the image, with the mist and the reflection. It works really, really well. I deliberately experimented with the white balance setting on my camera to create a cooler, more moody tone. I think that simple technical alteration has something to do with that tiny spark that rekindled my dormant creativity. I do quite like this picture as well. I feel like the composition is really, really nice from front to back. It just makes sense altogether, the way it flows, the way it directs your eye to the waterfall in the back. And it has a nice mood to it. It looks really, really nice. So I do like the fact that it's a hard book. It makes it more quality and ever longer lasting. If you want to have a book of this one, it's good to have a hard book rather than a soft cover. I do like the fact that he included a foreword written by someone else and a content page. I think if you're looking to do a book yourself, having a content page showing all the locations and all the title of the images, I think it's good to have that here relative to the image. You can kind of browse through, and if you like one location, you can jump to that location first, check it out. But I honestly, like, to really know the book, I gotta spend a lot of time kind of reading through it, looking at the image really closely. And you know, it's nice to have a foreword and then an introduction written by Gavin Hardcastle. So the foreword is usually written by somebody else, a friend of yours, somebody that knows you really well, can write something on your behalf. And the introduction, usually it's good that it's written by Gavin or by the artist. And then it quickly jumps into having the images here, and it's big images as well, which I quite like. It's very visually, it takes up a big portion of the page, so you feel like you get a lot of image for what you're paying for. So I quite like that. And I do like the fact that the text on these is really large for anybody to read. And it's not like a short story, it's actually quite a big story for each image. So I'm sure it must have taken time to write up each story and to kind of title them, to make sure that the quality is good. But the printing on these, I can also tell it's really well done. The images all look good from what I can tell when I kind of scan through them. So I quite like that he's also providing technical information at the bottom. I know kind of technical information can be a bit boring, but just kind of including it, it really, really helps. If you're interested in the technical bit, you have it. If you're just interested in the photography and the stories, it's also there. So it has an option for everybody, and I think it's good to include that. So I'm kind of drawing a lot of inspiration from this book and the books that I'm gonna buy throughout time. If I eventually do a landscape photography book, I will kind of draw ideas from all these books as to what to include, what not to include. But having this kind of format, it really, really works, I think. Having the story nice and large and clear, and the image being printed big, as big as possible, I think there is value there. So that's definitely one thing to note if you're interested in this book, that you get a bit, you know, a full page image like this one. It covers the whole page and all the information is on the left side, while my right side, your left side. So you can see how the image kind of covers the whole page and how the information is very clear to read. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just kind of zooming closer. So yeah, it's a quite good looking book, and the printing, like I said, it looks really, really nice. So I'm really glad I bought this one, and I'm looking forward to actually going through this book more carefully, kind of reading the stories, looking at the images, and kind of drawing inspiration for whenever I go out shooting again. So yeah, so I think that's kind of it for the book. And if you have any specific questions about the book itself, just leave me a comment, and I'm happy to answer it if you're interested in a specific thing about it. And honestly, I feel like this book, for what it is, it's not too expensive. $100 or so that I paid for it. I feel like it's priced really well too. And like I said, it will be helping support another photographer. And I can actually finally add this to my collection behind me and just work on getting some different books. I do have another book coming up that I'm waiting for it to arrive in the mail. That's a book from Adam Gibbs, and I'm looking forward to that one. It's A Quiet Light. I think it's third printing. So I'm looking forward to getting that book. It might be a bit different from this book, but I'm gonna do a video about it as well, talking about it, what I like about it. Honestly, there's nothing really bad to say about this book. I mean, if I can say anything, the attention to detail seemed like it's really well crafted, that the person, like Gavin Hardcastle, took a lot of time to put it together. You can tell that from the front to back, everything is kind of flows smoothly, and there's a lot of thought put into it. So definitely it doesn't seem like something rushed together just to make a quick buck, that's for sure. So definitely I'm excited about having this book, and I'm looking forward to the second book from Adam Gibbs. And also, if you have any recommendations for a book that you think are good books to buy and add to my collection, leave a comment of that book as well, and I think I'll look into getting one in the future as well. So yeah, thank you guys for coming along, and if you did like this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you aren't already. All right, thank you all for watching, and until next time, peace.